What's up, guys? It's May 31st, 2020. I have a couple setups for this week that I'm going to be watching. Mainly, they're a bit longer term setups based off some interesting looks that I've been monitoring. So first, XLF. XLF, we're looking for this monthly lower high after this big dump from the coronavirus. Looking for a monthly lower high under this high of in the 31s. Anticipate a lower high around these EMAs. If we don't even get to this 8 EMA, which is the orange, that indicates that the bounce is weak, notably weak. On this bounce, we've seen decreasing monthly volume. We've seen some wicks of notable buying, but also some profit taking as we saw this monthly lower high being set. We saw this weekly trend change, or scouting for the monthly lower high to be set. Saw this weekly trend change last week to confirm this weekly higher low at $20.09. We saw some profit taking from that strong move, though. On the daily, we had a number of different gaps. So we had a gap up, sell off, bulls held that low, gap up, sell off, and bears momentum. Then we had a gap down and filled this initial gap here with this indecision doji. On this consolidation, bulls are just looking for a daily higher low, but we need to eventually break this 24.34 to see that higher high to be confident of the weekly follow through. Otherwise, we may lose this weekly trend with a lower high and lower low. That would then indicate this is the top of the weekly move, and that we'd start to look for consolidation. So within XLF, I was looking at some different names, and JPM stood out to me. Let me pull this up in a bigger chart. So JP Morgan monthly looks like a monthly bear flag. We have this monthly inside bar, decreasing volume. Where we saw XLF had this break of the prior month's high, looking for the lower high into the bounce and into the EMA pack. JPM has not, so it's a relative weakness compared to XLF. Again, had this profit taking from late last week. Where we had a rejection from the 200 simple moving average. On the daily, very similar looks where we have bulls bought the dip and held, attempted the gap up, which is a minor bit of a gap up, but bears sold off into that strength. And then again with notable selling pressure on Friday. Again, if you notice in XLF, we had that indecision doji, where here we have a little bit more heavy selling in JPM, indicating this weak look. So bears could be looking to scale in short on any bounce. Once we do find this daily higher low, we're going to bounce. And bears would look for, say we see some more pullback here, bears would look to short this move on any bounce for the daily against the 102.95 high, anticipating that we'd see a rollover and a loss of this daily uptrend. Anything else there? 4 hour, we've had a pretty good waterfall here. 4 hour inside bar after hours on Friday. We want to see if bulls can find a base of support here to get this bounce going. We're shorting around the 100 area. There's also an interesting fib here, I think, as well. Let's do a quick pull. Am I covered? No. So the golden pocket is this area right here that I have indicated. Let's open this up. So 193 to 101, 15. If we do see a bounce on this 4 hour level, this would be a good area to start to look to scale in short with this 103.50 as our stop. Because of this relative weakness. So this would assume that XLF is going to roll over and look for weekly consolidation, and if it does, JPM should lead it to the downside because of the relative bear side correlation that we that I had already noted in the prior analysis there. Onto XLF, a different idea. Not XLF, excuse me. Netflix. So Netflix, we're seeing this weekly EQ start to take shape. So we have this low of 393.60. We have this high of 458.97. See another low, 397.86. This is our potential next low. We would then look for a weekly lower high if we see any bounce and underneath this 458 level. Something I like about it is this low and decreasing bear volume. Bulls bought this wick pretty hard. Let's zoom in. A daily inside bar setup. These blue lines is just how I indicate high and low of day prior. Here we see a daily inside bar on low volume. Bulls want to see a break of this 420.30 level, and then a break of last week's high, this 422.37, to then look for that weekly lower high under the 458. On the 4 hour, we see some constructive base building. We have the low high, the 422.37, and a higher low, a little bit of a base forming here. So bulls want to see a continuation of this move here. Is there anything else that I had noted there? Because we're looking for the weekly lower high, a way one could play this is on any bounce, just ride the hourly higher lows. Because when you see the loss of the hourly higher low, you may suspect that the daily move is going to be topping out, and then eventually the weekly move will be topping out, and see this tightening up. As we go into earnings and as this weekly EQ starts to take more shape, this equilibrium pattern, we would suspect that the weekly volume is going to continue to decrease. So we're going to see a tightening range here, and I may look to scale in either a bull or bear position depending on some more information as we get it. This 200 moving average is an interesting point for me. So if we do see a bull break of the 4 hour look that I was highlighting below, let's zoom in on this. I suspect that this 200 moving average is going to be a first point of resistance that bulls need to get over. That's just based off of how I like to trade and some things I notice. Let's pull a fib here and see where the golden pocket is. Let's see where that lines up. So it's quite similar. Look at that. So some nice confluence. So on any bull break here, we would look for a daily lower high into this range, or at least some resistance on any consolidation, and the volume and size of any pullback, if we saw it here, would give us a bit of an indication of if this could be a daily and weekly lower high on any bounce. So this is something to be watching as well. But tightening range on the weekly, so I quite like this look going into the next couple weeks. What is happening? Okay, this isn't working, so I'm just going to do that. Okay, anything else there? Anything else there? I don't think so. I think that's good. Shop is an interesting one as well. So shop, last week we saw some pretty significant pullback with I think it was Tuesday's or Wednesday's dump. We saw some pretty significant pullback, but bulls bought the dip right off this 80 EMA. Two things here: significant volume on the pullback, right? Big reversal candle, or a bear continuation rather, but bulls bought this dip, so it looks like part of this volume is going to be bull volume. Then we see relatively small and decreasing bull volume days with this initial bounce that rejected and got sold into, and then this indecision doji on Friday, daily inside bar compared to the range of Thursday, high and low day marked again with the blue lines. Bulls want to see a break of this 769.39 level, and most likely, given the size of this pullback and this volume, I suspect a lower high under the 844 level to be most likely. However, if we zoom in closer, initially on that bull volume on the daily, my first inclination was, okay, there's increased bear volume here, but the majority of it's going to be bull, because if you see a look at the size of that tail, bulls heavily bought that dip. When you look closer, it's actually not. That is not the case. So this is the big dump last week on the 26th and the 27th. Some pretty notable bear volume here. On the bounce, it was an hourly oversold bounce. The hourly RSI got down to 50, and so that tells us that the order book, the L2, got cleaned out when this happened. It happened so fast with this little volume spike. This is just an hourly oversold bounce, consecutive higher lows, low, 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 low. So a strong bounce right from the lows into the 200 moving average, consolidated overnight, and then changed that trend. So we're like, all right, sweet, that's a good daily base of support. Potential weekly higher low is set. We need the daily trend change to confirm. However, if you look at the volume signatures, it may be telling that this is a bit weaker than bulls had hoped. So big bear volume, not much of a lower wick. Then this is the bounce. So because the order book was cleaned out on this fast dump, this is why price moved so quickly. The consolidation was constructive into the morning, and then the strong bounce. However, bulls couldn't hold that bid up here. sold into again. Consolidated, reattempted a new high of the bounce, consolidated. So we have a little bit of a tightening equilibrium here, which is constructive. But again, on any bounce, we look for a lower high into this 844 level because of some of those features. Let's pull a quick fib, see if I see anything. So what stands out to me is that this 800 psychological resistance is most likely going to act as an initial resistance zone, just because of the nature of that nice round number. We also see the golden pocket on this pullback, which is going to be a potential area, or at least a potential or initial area of resistance, is right underneath that 800. So I would assume there's going to be a cloud of resistance up in this area. So on any bounce, I'm going to want to see if bulls can hit this level, either hold above it or consolidate below it and then break to be strong. Anything below this area is weak. And if they're unable to pass and hold that area, I would suspect that this level, this low of 685, to be retested. A buddy of mine, Matt, was kind of recalibrating me as I was talking to him and some other fellow traders about this setup. So this is an interesting look to either short from here or to just be patient, to look to test and bottom fish this 785 level later in the week. If we see a rejection, a bit of a consolidation, that's when bulls can start to look to fish off that level. A couple different looks there, a couple different ways to play it. Do I have anything else I want to cover? I think that was it. So if you have any questions, you can just post below. There's an interesting chart on TTD, actually, before I wrap up here. Chart is getting reset, which is most annoying. So I admit this isn't my I didn't find this chart, but it's an interesting look. This was posted from within the Chart Guys chat room, a forum and trading community that I'm a part of. So I have a weekly higher low here, really strong bounce from the coronavirus dump. You had a mini weekly trend change here. A strong volume, increasing volume as we approach the 323.78 resistance zone. So it looks like it broke a little bit, but rejected from that level. Then consolidation on decreasing and relatively low compared to the bull move, bear volume. On the pullback, we saw this pullback and then strong bounce. The volume signature is different than the shop setup that I looked at because of the strong buying, especially on the hourly that didn't reject. It just saw this walk of higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. I know this is the 4 hour, but that's what the hourly shows as well. You can look into it if you like. Because of the nature of the bounce, we are looking for a daily lower high under this 327.35, even if we break this recent resistance zone. So on any pullback, I'm going to start to look to scale into positions to look for a daily higher low relative to this low down here. Hourly oversold conditions is a great spot to look if we see some confluence with other support lines, such as these EMAs. On any pullback, that would also be a good area to scale into some positions. Is there anything else there? I think that's it. All right, if you have any questions, just feel free to post below. Otherwise, have a good week. Take care.